And
they don't want people to understand. That's what dwells in these places.
Yeah.
That's what's in these waters of these lakes. I could throw my blades in water and she would bring them back to me.
Really?
That's what she offers. She offers mystically charged magical weapons to warriors. Mystical beings that are definitely not like our animals up here come out of these spaces from inside the earth. I've seen in deep underground military bases dogmen, like you would kind of describe them, some more humanized. And I think a lot of those were experimentation and genetic splicing. I think a lot of that was gene editing stuff that I've seen. But I do believe that some of these things are holdovers from the old days. They're the last of their kinds, and they've been breeding them, right? And I believe that that's the stuff that's prophesied that's going to come back out and cause the hearts of men to stop for fear of looking after these things that are coming up on the earth. You know, that's why everywhere I went throughout my youth, I could go to these tunnels and these caves and call out, and I could hear them, and they would call back, you know, and it's like it's a seductive power that draws you back into it.
You could call out to them? Like, was it like a language or a sound or what?
Oh, yeah, man. You can learn to call to them. You can go out here in these hills out here and do it. You can still do it tonight on these full moons and stuff. You can start calling out, and you'll think you'll hear coyotes at first, and then all of a sudden it's a totally different, you know, it's a different sound that starts to resonate, and then it's a different one that calls off from over here.
I have to make this video because no one wants to do the legwork. I researched Nathan's past. I spoke into his family, and what I found wasn't this occult Luciferian family. Found a mom and dad that missed their son. Found sisters that loved their brother. This isn't a gotcha video. It's the mission of mercy, a call to come home. Let me take you through it. Nathan claims to be this army super soldier assassin, but that's a lie. Let's take a look at Nathan's LinkedIn page. Right here we have his military service. Nathan likes to say he was emancipated in the United States Army at 17. Yeah, a lot of people do that. I've done it. I'm an Army veteran. I can read right through this. He was an Army reservist, a Fueler 92F MOS. These duty stations: Fort Carson, where he'd report to his Army Reserve Unit; Fort Knox, where he did his basic training; Fort Lee, that's where he did his Fueler training. See this little blurb here? Platoon leader, charge of 57 soldiers. That's nothing. That's the title they give trainees to march recruits to chow. An Army reservist is a part-timer. Either hold a civilian job or they go to school. Notice how his college years blend into his Army service. Also, these dates don't equate to 2 years, and each MOS has a minimum enlistment date, and Fueler is typical 3 years. His short time in the Army, he would have spent at least 5 months just in basic training in AIT. He's blamed the Army on podcasts that he never got his enlistment bonus or money for college because he got booted out and never fulfilled his contract. So let's look at why Nathan got an early discharge.
Oh, people will say, like, you did good, you know, and other. So,
how many years did you spend in the military?
I was in for 2 years.
Okay. Did you get medically discharged? Did you have something like that happen? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering, because you said that you were you said that it was over. I was like, dang, you could have stayed in, but it sounds like something happened. Okay.
No, yeah, I threatened a general and he kicked me out.
Okay.
Yeah, he washed me out of the program.
Yeah,
fast.
I've had.
Break-ins unrelated, Sheriff Office says. Investigations by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office continue in 2 home invasions in Cascade this month, one which turned out to be a false report. Deputies responded to a call November 22nd from Nathan Reynolds, 18, who said he had been shot and stabbed when 2 men entered his home around 10:50 a.m. Reynolds was transported to a hospital in Colorado Springs, where he was treated for his injuries and released November 23rd. In a follow-up interview by investigators, Reynolds admitted he had staged the event. The gunshot wounds and stab wounds were determined to have been self-inflicted. Personal issues were cited by the victim as to the reasoning for why he falsified the information to authorities. It has not yet been determined if charges will be filed against Reynolds. This one's from the Gazette. Cascade man says he staged assault. An 18-year-old Cascade man who was shot and stabbed twice on Thanksgiving Day in a reported home invasion staged the assault, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office said Monday. Sheriff's investigators said there were inconsistencies in Nathan Reynolds' story. Monday afternoon, he admitted that he had faked the incident at his home on the east side of U.S. Highway 24. Investigators also determined that Reynolds' wounds were self-inflicted. Reynolds had said he was attacked by two men after he heard a disturbance. He was treated and released from Memorial Hospital on Friday. So you're going to say, big deal. Nathan talks about this stuff all the time. But you got to understand how Nathan frames things, all right? He takes reality and he turns it into conspiracy. So this transcript is from the Amy Roper podcast, Eyes on the Right. And this is Nathan talking about the incident. I called 911 and I sat there in this chair, this little desk chair where I did homeschool and all this other stuff, sat bleeding out and trying to get these people to come and help me, and just begging them to come and help me. And instead, they had an ambulance that got there. I believe within 14 minutes, the ambulance showed up at my door, and yet they sat there for 45 minutes waiting for me to die, because that's why they were ordered to do. They waited for me to die. They waited till I lost consciousness. They literally thought I lost consciousness and died. And then they came in and cleared the scene. They cleared the scene, and then they brought me in the paramedics to get me out of there. But they did everything in their power currently to let me die. So let's break this down, all right? Why did the paramedics have to wait? The paramedics had to wait because if you go back to the article, he reported that people broke into his house and assaulted him. So they couldn't send the paramedics in. The police had to come in and clear the scenes to make sure it's safe for the paramedics to get there. If he just would have called in and said what happened, they would have went in no problem. But that's how Nathan takes reality. He turns it into this conspiracy that suits himself. To put things in perspective, I made a timeline to show you how short his time in the Army Reserves was. You know, it isn't funny that he never refers to himself as being in the Army Reserves. He always says, I was in the military or I was in the Army. But my source, the Reynolds family, told me Nathan spent 1.5 years in the Army Reserves. I got a screenshot of a comment from Nathan. So be aware, he reads his comments and he'll change his story up. You know, he'll add or take away from it. So he's always watching.
Did I hear correctly that Nathan was given an order to incriminate or assassinate a journalist by Gen MF? I was listening on my way home, and service was pretty sketchy.
I was General McChrystal's butcher boy. Jason Project 7716 McChrystal was head of the Irish Mafia. General Michael Flynnman is still his second loyal spy against the alt-right code Tim Prillo actor.
Nathan, what are you doing? Why are you talking like this? You're going to get yourself in trouble. But I can just imagine that the conversations kind of went like this.
Yeah, Flynn, don't worry. This looks like a job for my little butcher boy.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. But, you know, with humility comes hilarity. And let's get back to work here. Let's look at another clip of why Nathan claims he got thrown out of the military. And then he just kind of goes on a little rant here. It really doesn't make much sense.
You present these types of papers. The problem is if you disobey these people, they take that away from you. They take your diplomatic immunity, which is what happened in my case. I ended up killing a couple of agents that were planting child porn on an investigative reporter's computer to try to frame them so they could discredit them because they were releasing things that were happening regarding the Pope at JSOC, the Irish mafia that ran things, General McChrystal and General Michael Flynn. These two men were running a very disgusting, corrupt military intelligence operation that was defiling people and destroying witnesses. So I was one of their hitmen for them. for hire. And I refused an order, and I did the opposite, and I got whitewashed completely in a horrific way out of the military. And
for answering that. The next question, what is it like to hunt humans? What would a typical assignment look like from start to finish? And can you give any examples?
It's the greatest hunt there is. I mean, especially if they know. It's not if you have like a real hard target, somebody that's fortified themselves, you have people that know you're coming. There's 3 levels to it. It's like they have absolutely no idea that anything's coming their way.
No. The defense is wrong.
All right, I wasn't going to talk about this one, but because remember how I said Nathan turns reality into conspiracy? I'm going to show you an example right here. So if we take a look at this court docket here, we see that Nathan, along with his wife, tried to sue Double Tap Defense. He claimed the gun, a Derringer 45, was faulty and exploded in his hand. This is a separate incident from his Thanksgiving episode. The case was thrown out and never went to trial. But here's Nathan trying to explain this.
Was trying to recruit me back into the assassination projects, and he took me back down to Lake Havasu when I was in my 20s, and he was trying to get me caught back up in there. The last time I went down there with my grandfather and all these people, a firearm blew up. The first time I shot this gun, it blew up in my hand and completely destroyed my saddle joint on my right thumb. It was as a double-barreled 45 that was like concealed carry pistol, and it blew my thumb apart, literally. And I was about to go into the mercenary world and finally thought I was going to be out, and it blew my hand apart. And anyways, I think my mom knew that they were going to suck me back into that in a horrible way. She started.
Is it possible the 2 Utes?
2 what? What was that word?
What word?
2 what?
What?
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
What is a Ute?
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. The 2 youths. So the 2 Ute, Nathan and Chelsea, try to sue this handgun company, okay? Chelsea's a plaintiff. She knows about this. This wasn't some secret mercenary mission. And if you're on the secret mercenary mission, you're going to get attention by getting a lawsuit? I mean, come on. All right, let's move on before I make a Legally Blonde reference. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands.
Good afternoon, beautiful people on this train. Next stop is 59th Street.
Nathan's great-grandfather, Don Reynolds. We're going to go through his obituary, and there's a lot of key information here. Don Reynolds' obituary. Don Potter Reynolds, a longtime resident of Yonkers, New York, died on January 11, 2002 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He was 86. Mr. Reynolds worked for the American Society of Civil Engineers in New York for 40 years before retiring in 1981 as Director of Policy Planning and Public Affairs. Mr. Reynolds was born December 9, 1915 in Reading, Michigan to Gene and Fern Potter Reynolds. He was educated in Reading, Michigan, and graduated from the University of Michigan in 1939, earning a master's degree in civil engineering. On July 1, 1939, he married Martha Dorothea Locke at St. Paul's Evangelical Lutheran Church in Toledo, Ohio. Mr. Reynolds lived with his grandson and his family in Colorado Springs, Colorado, for the past 2 years. Before that, he lived in Yonkers, New York, from 1942 to 2000. And in Toledo, Ohio, and Reading, Michigan. Locally, he was an active member of Asbury United Methodist Church for nearly 50 years. He was a volunteer at Lawrence Hospital in Bronxville, accumulating more than 3,000 volunteer hours. He is survived by his grandchildren, Reynolds of Colorado Springs, Colorado, that's Nathan's dad, and 3 great-grandchildren. He was preceded in death by his loving wife, Martha, in 1987, his son, Bruce, in 1988, and his daughter, Susan, in 2000. A memorial service is scheduled for Friday, February 8th at 11 a.m. at Asbury United Methodist Church. So let's listen to what Nathan has to say about his great-grandfather.
You know, like my great grandfather, a man named Don Potter Reynolds, was the architect, the head of engineering for the president, as the president of the American Society of Civil Engineering back in the 80s. And he's the one who put the new torch in the Luciferian hand of the Statue of Liberty of Columbia. And so he's a master Mason Luciferian in that way. And he was so much of the shot caller for the family.
Well, let me challenge that. Remember the obituary? Don Reynolds retired in 1981. No, the ASCE, American Society of Civil Engineers, did not build the new torch for the Statue of Liberty. The ASCE was involved in recognizing the restoration of the Statue of Liberty, including the torch replacement, as an outstanding civil engineering achievement. The Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation was primarily responsible for the restoration of the Statue of Liberty in the 1980s. This private, nonprofit organization was established in 1982 by President Ronald Reagan, with Lee Iacocca as its chairman. To raise funds for the statue's centennial restoration, the foundation collaborated with the National Park Service, which owns and manages the statue, to plan and execute the restoration. Therefore, the torch replacement was a joint effort between the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation and the National Park Service, which specialized assistance for French metalworkers and consultants. All right, now we're going to get a little bit dark, okay? Because Nathan claims that his great-grandfather molested him in his old age near his deathbed. But actually, here I catch Nathan giving 2 different versions of the story.
That's where all of that really was birthed out of, was there in the White Mountains. And then once that decision was made, my great-grandfather was brought back to our house in Colorado. He was located there, and my father signed me over to him. He got parental rights. He got bedtime rights with me at night.
That's sick.
For a few years until he was too sick to do anything about it. And my dad got access to the trust fund, and that was when everything went.
Oh, wow. And then that money change was directly because of what they did to you, right? Wasn't that part of it? Like basically selling you? I mean, at a point.
Yeah, when I was my great grandfather on my father's side, and this is on my father's side, were a lot more devotees of Luciferianism. He was his name was Don Potter Reynolds, for what it's worth. He is the president of the American Society of Civil Engineering, and he rose to power out east using a lot of these same tactics and strategies to control people, and a very horrific man in that regard. But he ended up, my family moved him in with us out in Arizona. They went out and got him from Arizona, or from New York, and brought him out east. The Reynolds family empire is more so centered on the East Coast. My father started a whole new empire out here in the Southwest. And so, but much of the power and much of the players in the big game is out there on the East Coast. Well, they brought him back here to Arizona and basically signed over a custodial trust so that he could have bedtime rights to me. And my family got access to the trust fund. And really, that's the keys of power were really granted through pedophilia. That was how people got access to the phone book. First of all, it's not always like dollars and ones and zeros in a bank account that gives you power. It tends to be access to the phone book, the directory of within a phone call. You can have access to anybody in the world, and they'll greenlight you whatever you want. So that's when my family, after his passing, got at much more physical money stupid money that they kind of do whatever they wanted with. But that trauma and that season of my life is what really ruined the transition from boy to man for me. And it really left me very defiled and really shattered and convinced that I was worthless in every regard. And I began to chase death. I mean, I chased death and I chased violence wholeheartedly from that day forward. I was eagerly.
Did you catch that? The first clip, he said he was molested by his great-grandfather in Colorado. And in the second clip, he said he was molested by his great-grandfather in Arizona. Nathan can't keep his story straight. And I don't know what I proved to you guys, but let's keep going.
TFO Pizza, we delivered our planets at the speed of light. Can I take your order?
Yes. I'd like delivery of 1 18-inch Roswell pizza with a 2-liter of adrenochrome.
Now, Bruce is Nathan's paternal grandfather, and you don't hear much about him because he died before Nathan was born. Bruce Reynolds died May 22nd as a result of his injuries received in a traffic accident. He was 48. Mr. Reynolds was born April 23rd, 1940 in Toledo, Ohio, and raised in Yonkers, New York. He received a degree in industrial design from Syracuse University. He had resided in Flagstaff since November 1986. At the time of his death, he was a self-employed auto body repairman. Survivors include his father, Don Reynolds of Yonkers, his daughter of Wesley, Rhode Island, and his son of Flagstaff, Arizona, and 2 granddaughters. So what can we take away from that? I mean, not much. But one thing's unusual about that is there's no wife listed. So there's no grandmother.
She used to be up all the time. Like one of the weird things on the female side of this, because I don't know a lot of what happened with the female side of this, they would stay awake for days on end. That was when we had family reunions and get together. The moms and the grandmas would be up continually. It was unbelievable, days and days. And I think a lot of that was this desire to try to mitigate the amount of sexual abuse that was happening, because the grandfathers were always having sex with the grandsons. It was always like a generational out. Like my father never physically harmed me. He never sexually abused me. He was never like a perpetrator on me. That was not like, I've never seen that happen with my family. I don't know why, but it was always one generation out. I don't understand how that works or why that is. I'm sure it has some kind of other realm thing to do with.
Nathan makes it seem like all this debauchery is going on at the family reunions, but mostly everyone is deceased or gone before he was even born. Nathan throws the most allegations against this grandfather, claims this guy castrated him, drowned him in bathtubs to be a mind-altered slave, made him into a Rosicrucian Jesuit child assassin, all types of things. A lot of my evidence clearing this grandfather is going to come much later on.
Prostituting themselves to us, still there to this day.
Really?
It's still there. It's not going anywhere. These people, my grandfather, the Zarnowskis, are still raping and ruining the lives of children. Every freaking day I'm out here doing this is to try to shine a brilliant light to try to protect the innocents who are still getting victimized. I'm not doing this for me, man.
To this day, huh? Well, let's see how old this grandfather is. He's still currently living. To this day, at 90 years old. And if you take a look at this map, Lake Havasu and Flagstaff are separated by a 3-hour drive and about 200 miles. So how did he mind control Nathan from so far away? Nathan would say handlers. He claimed he had handlers as a child. In the Air Force, he never was in the Air Force. In the Army, he had handlers. In college, he had handlers. Out of college, always with the handlers. With the amount of handlers he had, that means there's just an army of handlers out there.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a handler.
What's a handler?
I show up to houses with a picture of a bathtub. Gosh, idiot.
Rough night, Finny? What a creep. I could never date a guy who voted for Pedro.
So let's backtrack here and remember the Thanksgiving episode where Nathan shot and stabbed himself. The grandfather's mentioned in this, and I think this is kind of important. This is a transcript from the Amy Roper podcast, and this is Nathan talking. And so literally, that's what I did Thanksgiving morning. Like my entire family went to Lake Havasu City to go be with my grandfather and do their little filthy stuff down there with him. I stayed back because I lied to them and told them I had military drill. And when I stayed back, I threw a huge party at my parents' house. And the next morning, I cleaned up the house up and shot and stabbed myself multiple times. So apparently Nathan can break his mind control from his grandfather if he can do that. Also, I like how he lets his sisters go down there to do all that filthy stuff, and he decides just to throw a party. I already know how Nathan's going to come back on that. He's going to say, well, the army was controlling me at that time. My grandfather couldn't control me at that point. Now, I apologize I have to keep bringing up the Thanksgiving episode, but you have to take off your tinfoil hat. These people involved are real people. They aren't cartoon villains. This incident hurt his entire family. It nearly killed Nathan. If there's one thing true about that incident, it's that God saved Nathan that day. I believe that. One of the allegations Nathan has against his grandfather is that he castrated Nathan at 6 years old. And this is going to lead us into our next chapter and why that makes absolutely no sense. Nathan claims to be from a rare sacred bloodline of Nephilim. Okay, then why would they castrate you? And then why would your grandfather come to imprint upon your firstborn child if he was the one who castrated you? So people started asking, wait, you have 4 children. At first, Nathan said it was a miracle by the Holy Spirit. Then later he claimed he had a surgery performed that fixed this. Nathan claims these Luciferians crushed his epididymis because they wanted him from achieving puberty, because these cults like prepubescent boys for their rituals. A damaged epididymis doesn't stop puberty. Nathan claims that he was like the castrato, young boys that were castrated to achieve high singing voices. So here's a picture of a castrato. You can see the round face. This is a young man that hasn't went through puberty. And look at Nathan, looking like the Liver King over here. This is a man that's been through puberty. Also, Nathan claims that this damage done when he was a young boy, it gave him like kidney stones and he was peeing blood for a very long time until he had this corrective surgery. But if that was true, he never would have got through the Army MEPS process if he was peeing blood. I mean, one of the things they do is they give you a urine analysis.
Those priests that were there will castrate boys, not cut their testicles off. They take jeweler's pliers and grab the scrotum and crush their epididymis. That's the umbilical cords kind of things that come out of your testes.
Jeez.
They did that when I was a boy so that I would be damaged goods and not able to turn pubescent before they could get their money's worth out of me, because they want boys to stay boys as long as possible.
Sounds like some Peter Pan crap.
It's atrocious, but it's a way to mark someone like a eunuch. So I had horrific testicular pain and major issues throughout my life that left me crippled. Some of the worst chronic pain I've ever dealt with in my life. And I had a hope that it would get a lot better when I got married. It got a lot worse. And my wife was a nurse at the time, and she had a better understanding of what was going on. It was initially diagnosed as testicular cancer. They saw this damage that was in there. Later on, it took a lot of specialists to figure out all this scar tissue and all this trauma that happened on the epididymis. They didn't want to do surgery on it. I finally found a doctor that would, and it helped. It relieved my pain, and it was one of the greatest transformations of my life. I'd be walking along and peeing blood in agony at all different times. I mean, it was crippling. And so that about 6-8 months later, my wife did get pregnant. And that was, for me, a turning point for my family.
It's just irresponsible that these big podcasts don't even ask the most basic of questions. I found this comment from Nathan's dad. Usually these get deleted, If you guys haven't noticed, I do block out names and addresses. I don't want anyone getting doxxed or harassed here. Also, I did confirm with the family, this is a message from him.
Nate, we love you deeply. We wait for you to have that moment of clarity. Just because you have found a voice doesn't make it reality. There are many that are bipolar that begin to realize their thoughts are out of control, and they seek help. We know this will happen for you at some point. Sooner or later these people will begin to abandon you. We will not and never will. We are here waiting and praying for you. Just because you believe these things have happened to you doesn't make it true. Being bipolar and manic keeps the truth from you until you come to yourself, and someone near you will soon realize and try to help you. Love you, Dad.
This is the Reynolds family calling for aid. Chelsea, Naomi, Jubilee, Pearl, and Big Thunder are living through hell. Read previous posts YouTube and Facebook. We've been hunted, harassed, grievously bodily harmed. Identity theft, cybercrimes on massive international bloodline royal scales. My federal, military, and state ID taken off an old Vanguard buddy of mine. Aim small, miss small, folks. It in all our old numbers and emails, some are secure again, been exploited and used to commit fraud/defraud Chelsea and I and keep us in the dusticles. Cut off from resupply. Please stir up your warriors, intercessors, and supporters. Proton, Venmo, and PayPal are what we got now, but these monsters keep trying to steal. They'll have to pay back sevenfold. Not a good idea. I warned them for 9 years. This is the end of that fuse, you fools. I was the bait. You were always the prey. Now you drink the cup of Yah's wrath. We are calling the angels down. It's a Joshua moment. We've fled and been driven away for the last 30 days in our explosion-riddled, mold-infested minivan. It's wrecking our health, Chelsea's in particular. We have been perpetually chased and hunted by murderers, Illuminati, Mafia, and deep state alike. We are technically alive but ragged. Moved 100+ times since we left for a family vacation. We are safe housed-ish but need support. God only knows what betrayal and violence we've suffered of all areas. 99% of you are dead to rights, poetically speaking. All our previous addresses, except a clandestine few, are run by the Mafia, Reynolds masquerading under pseudonyms, Pilgrim Society perverts. Long story to come. But I remember, let not my enemies triumph over me. Assuredly Yahweh did not lead us to the wilderness to deliver us to these warlocks and sorcerers, but to give us them as our prey. Yahweh's got him right where he needs, but we need the rescuing and have had it, but only just enough to live. Book of Job all the way. Kick that dust off your Bibles, y'all. Song reference, please agree with us in prayer that this would end. Thank you, mighty musicians who've sustained us. Video to follow. Hell on Wheels has become heaven in disguise. The spies of this land are reporting now. In the end they will lose. Music reference, thank you to the intrepid pioneers who have been praying for this mighty army of God's men and women and children to rise up and lead the charge into the breach. Book of Nehemiah, Ezra, Esther reference, go fish for those souls so the hunters, Jeremiah 16, can hunt them out of the cracks, crevices, and deep underground bases. Gospel to every creature, homies. YHWH is Yeshua's chosen leader, star kingship sometimes at 6 years old. Book of Kings Chronicles reference, go fish, unsung hero, row lion, and many like it are on my 911 speed dial, not a joke. I have to call 911 with all my old Rolodexes. See 5 homies are already in the skies, you little Luciferans blinded by Leviathan's pride, don't even get it. I'm not your boy. I am a warrior and a member of ghostly teams you'll never know about till they read you oak trees in the morning after action reports. My God owns the earth and the fullness thereof. Use that music and dancing. It's a weapon for war. Red Dead Sea Scrolls book on the war scroll, pertinent tactics therein. You all are the generations promised to Daniel, Abraham, John, and Jacob. Be steadfast brothers and sisters, for El Shaddai fights for us. Nathan Reynolds. I need more of your best playlist as soon as you can. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Our families in the fight of our lives and need your help. Gun door calls for. Surrounded by regions of warlocks, mothers of darkness, and principalities thinking they got us for sure this time. Real talk, not poetry. Best part is, we've got him right where we want him. It's called a target-rich environment, too easy not to score 4x kills. Call of Duty reference, it's now all that hole over the imaginary horizon, artillery stuff. Gibram stuff, Ezekiel 1-10 stuff. Here come God Almighty's destroying angels with battle axes in hand. So let us go once more into the breach together. This is Nathan Reynolds reporting from the bathtub of undisclosed position. Bring the rain. Broken Arrow, Transformer 1, and other Savage War movie reference. Tears of the Sun stuff. Lone Survivor stuff. There is always more of us than with the enemy. Psalm 2, Psalm 82 stuff. Fight, fight, fight. Pray like war. Worship like David. You will dance on those devils' graves. Shalom me, my homies. Zechariah 3 and Jude is where my book. Snatched from the flames was directed for my challenge. You find yourselves in his perfect word. Happy hunting. Ex orphan next to some John Wickish letters. Book of Jonah moment. Mark 12-16. I get the glory. We are not victims but victors. Isaiah 66. Here come the survivors.
Lights a flashing, name on the screen. Dreaming big, a money machine. One big chance right here, right now. Take a breath and make your vow. Spin the wheel, push the button hard. Got to play your winning card. Win money or don't hear the crowd roar loud. Standing out from the cheering crowd. Money or nothing, that's the grand design. It's your moment, it's your time. Every question, every single call.
Hello and welcome to Win Money or Not. I'm your host, Jessica Ventura. We have another great show for you. So, let's meet our contestants. Our first contestant hails from Flagstaff, Arizona. He's held jobs such as Jesuit child assassin, Air Force tunnel spymaster, Army super soldier, bodyguard, NGO operator, organ smuggler, vampire killer, permaculturist, and artesian butcher. Let's give a warm round of applause for Nathan Reynolds, everybody. Next, we have Finney, who resides from the Atlantic Ocean and is a massage therapist. She's a self-proclaimed hopeless romantic who's still looking for her Prince Alarming. Give it up to Finney. Lastly, we have Dolores UFO Pizza's Employee of the Month 2 years running. Dolores, everybody. Let's review the categories. London Bridge, Thunderground, Concerning CERN, Hulk Hogan stooged me, The Gulf of Tonkin, and Nathan Reynolds. Nathan, you won the thumb wrestling match backstage, so you go first.
I'll choose topic Nathan Reynolds.
I shared a bit of the testimony of what I saw at this place called The Church in Denver, which is a nightclub that was converted from an old Catholic church. And I was meeting with these people during what was called the Cannabis Awards. And there was a guy in there. It was a meeting for all kinds of people that were doing technology stuff with graphenes and stuff from hemp products. And there was a guy who was in the sub basement. There's a layer, a dance floor below the main dance floor in there, which is totally just like the textbook ritual room that you see under a lot of these Catholic churches. Anyways, there was this guy in there that straight up had the reptiloid features, like the iconic version of.
Wrong. St. Mark's was never a Catholic church. It was and always had been an Episcopalian church. If you want further proof, I have the historical documents right here.
Was legally, ethically. It's still a way of killing that is so unnatural to people. For somebody to tear out their enemy's throat with their mouth, with their teeth, is not normal. It's not something they're like it's some kind of vampire movie thing, but it's a very effective way of killing somebody when you have no other weapons in your hand.
No, it's not physically possible for a human to bite out another human's throat. While human bites can inflict serious and dangerous wounds, human jaws and teeth are not built for the catastrophic tearing of flesh required to remove a throat. The misconception may stem from dramatic depictions in movies and fiction. Here is a breakdown why this is not possible. Weak bite force. Compared to carnivores, the human bite is quite weak. The average bite force is 162 pounds per square inch. Blunt teeth. Human teeth are designed for grinding and crushing, not for tearing flesh. Strong neck muscles. The neck is a well-defended area with very strong muscles. The deep structure of the neck, including the trachea and esophagus, is protected by layers of muscles, ligaments, and cartilage. Survival instinct. The victim would fight back with immense force from survival instincts. It is nearly impossible to hold a struggling person still enough and to apply the pressure needed for such an action.
Going to be out, and it blew my hand apart. And anyways, I think my mom knew that they were going to suck me back into that in a horrible way. She started sending me all of this stuff from my childhood, little like keepsake, cherished moments, stuff I hadn't seen since I was a child. Christmas ornaments that had the names of the doctors who were in charge of my birth or surgeries, plastic surgeries. Like, she was feeding me all this information. And it was helping me to put together this tapestry of what happened to me, including like my birth certificate and forgeries and all these other pieces that were like, well, she was the one introducing a lot of that to me. And I think there was a side of her that.
Well, if you're concerned about your birth date, Nathan, it was announced in the papers. In a Sunday edition of the Arizona Daily Sun, the 15th of January, 1989, page 8, your birth announcement states the 30th of December, 1989.
How long were you in the Army?
On paper, I was in the Army for 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you do?
Whatever they asked.
I mean, did you have like a title?
Yes, I was a supply specialist on paper.
Oh.
So
in the military, I think there's an illusion that people get because they watch the Prophets of Baal, Hollywood Blonde versions of movies.
Incorrect. A supply specialist 92Y is an entirely different MOS. On paper, you are a 92F petroleum fuel specialist. Finney, you get to select the next topic.
I choose Thunderground.
Thunderground. The question is, what is disordered love?
It involves prioritizing lesser things over what should be loved supremely and can manifest obsessively loving a hobby over family or seeking fulfillment in finite things rather than in the infinite God.
Dolores, you get the next question. What is bearing false witness?
Well, bearing false witness means testifying falsely or misrepresenting reality to harm someone, as prohibited by the ninth commandment in Exodus 20:16.
Nathan Reynolds, answer the following question. What justice does God impose on those who bear false witness?
God's disdain for false testimony is so great that he calls for those who bear false witness to receive the punishment that would fall on the innocent person. Deuteronomy 19:15-21.
Oh no, folks! It's the lightning squid round.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
I'm gonna find Superboy and I'm gonna bring him in. And for once, everybody in this town's gonna tell the truth.
Being right is not a bulletproof vest, Freddy!
The following is a Q&A with Nathan's sister. Let's begin. One of Nathan's key talking points is that his father moved to Arizona from New York to start his Illuminati empire. So my question is, how did the Reynolds family arrive in Arizona?
This question highlights my father's testimony of when he became a Christian. He was unsaved and struggling in New York. He was aware that he needed to change direction in his life. He was a big backpacker, so decided to make a new life for himself in Arizona and hitchhiked his way out there. While hiking through the Grand Canyon, a man shared with him the gospel and gave him a tract that shares who God is and why he sent his son Jesus to save us as sinners. He gave his life to Christ and settled in Flagstaff, Arizona. My mom also became a Christian in college and left her school and too settled in Flagstaff, Arizona because one of the Christian girls she knew at the time lived there.
Nathan claims sexual abuse from his grandfather, mother's side, and even from his great-grandfather, father's side. Is there any validity to this?
No, none at all. Us children, my brother, sister, and I and cousins, would spend summer vacations and holidays at our maternal grandparents' house, and never did any of us experience sexual abuse. As for our paternal grandfather, we saw him a few times in his home in New York, and when he came to live with us, he was so frail he could barely walk and needed great amounts of support for his physical care. He could not physically have been able to abuse anyone in this state, but even when he was well and healthy, he did not abuse us.
Nathan claimed his parents were in an arranged marriage. Exactly how did your parents meet?
No, it was not arranged. My parents both met when they attended the same church after they first became saved, recognizing they are sinful, repenting of their sins and putting their faith and hope that Jesus made full payment for their debt against God, and then living their lives in the newness of that salvation. They were both 21 at the time. They had a very short time of dating and engagement, 6 to 7 months, before they were married. My maternal grandfather actually was not happy about their marriage because my mom had converted from Catholicism and they were now Protestants, and she was the first of their children to get married, so it was a lot for her family to process.
Nathan claims these clandestine Army missions. What was his service like? Being a reservist, he had to be home more times than not. Did he get in trouble in the military?
My brother joined the Army Reserves at 17 and did an early emancipation to join before his senior year of high school. He did his basic training at Fort Knox, where he struggled physically and emotionally, but did graduate. He came back and finished his senior year of high school and completed his petroleum/transportation certification the following summer. He then came back to Colorado to go to college. He began to have physical illnesses that led to more medication to manage those illnesses, sinus infection and anxiety and sleep difficulties. The Army doctor prescribed him a cocktail of medication to help with all those problems, but it did seem to in fact trigger more problems, because these new medications were not supposed to be mixed with his previous meds that he was on. And we believe that was the main trigger for the Thanksgiving episode.
So the shooting incident, when Nathan skipped out on Thanksgiving, was he just trying to throw a house party, or was he planning on self-inflicting wounds to get out of the military? Or was he just horsing around? What was his motive?
Our general consensus is that this was his first major manic episode triggered by the mismedicated medication. He did end up staying home from the family, traveling down to Arizona for Thanksgiving. At some point, he staged this incident that there was a robber and he was defending the home, and that during that attack he was shot and stabbed. When the police did their investigation, they quickly found that it was all staged and self-inflicted. Because of this incident, the military was ready to dishonorably discharge him, but my father felt it was truly part of his mental illness and improper medical care and fought to get Nate honorably discharged at this point, so he was only in the Army for approximately 1.5 years. It was due to this incident that mental health was made known, and he began to be under the care of a psychiatrist and therapist. After 6 months of therapy, he was diagnosed with bipolar 1. My dad worked tirelessly to make sure Nathan had supports in college for proper med management and mental health care. He helped Nate get established in a church to give as much positive support for him to succeed.
Was the Army Reserves Nathan's first choice, or did he ever want to join the Air Force?
Nate's first dream growing up was to join the Air Force and fly planes. However, as he grew up and began to look closely into joining the military, the Army was the place that offered the best benefits of emancipating early and an upfront bonus that the Air Force didn't offer.
How did the self-shooting incident affect the family?
We were all devastated. My dad remembers that he knew right away it wasn't an actual robbery, but because of my own personal close relationship with my brother, that thought didn't even cross my mind. My mom was terrified and cried for the whole 13 hours home, thinking he would die before we even saw him in the hospital. Once it was revealed that it was self-inflicted, I felt extremely betrayed and hurt. My mom, I think, was highly discouraged, and my dad felt the weight of caring for my brother and protecting and leading the whole family. However, he led our whole family with such grace, gentleness, and kindness. I now look on this shamefully, but I truly didn't feel comfortable having my brother move back into the room next to mine, and my dad moved him downstairs. He also slept in the basement a while too, until my brother was able to settle and reestablish. Looking back at that time, although there is immense pain and sadness, God has done an amazing work in my own heart to see how a father pursues his struggling child. My husband and I have been fostering for 13 years now, and I really believe because of my parents' gentle and steadfast love towards my lost and struggling brother, we have been able to press into abused and traumatized kiddos with that same perseverance. I watched my dad love the way God loves us.
The family moved from Arizona to Colorado. What was the motive for that?
The main reason was better health care for taking care of my great-grandpa and more opportunities for us kids rather than the smaller mountain town in Arizona.
Did your parents inherit a lot of money when your great-grandfather, Don Reynolds, died?
They did inherit money when my great-grandfather died, but it was a normal amount of inheritance money.
Was Nathan ever jealous or feel entitled to that money?
As children, none of us were really aware of the inheritance money. We knew that because of that money, we were then able to go to a private Christian school, but beyond that, we were just teenagers doing regular teenage life with no awareness of inheritance and rights and entitlement.
Did Nathan have any mental health problems growing up? Did he switch schools a lot?
Nathan went to a total of 4 different schools and was homeschooled for a short period in between the 3rd and 4th school. First school was in Flagstaff, where we all started. We then moved to Lakeside, AZ, and went to the 2nd school. The 3rd school was the Christian school in Colorado Springs when we moved there to start caring for our great-grandpa better, and then he homeschooled for a period when he began really struggling with relationships and overgrandized behavior with peers. He finished at a 4th school in Manitou. My sister and I went to all except being homeschool and Manitou.
Was there a point or an event when you noticed a big change in his personality or demeanor?
My brother and I are only 12 months apart in age. He and I were best friends our entire upbringing and very close. We had a relationship that we didn't even need to finish our sentences in conversations because we knew what the other was saying. My husband always had a hard time following when Nate and I would talk because all of our conversations were only half sentences since we just knew each other so well. It was his Thanksgiving manic episode that was the defining event that Nathan was struggling with mental stability. He has also always been a larger-than-life character and struggled here and there with certain things, but that was the moment that we knew he needed different support. After that, and with solid supports and Christian relationships, he stabilized and was able to function okay. He wasn't able to hold jobs for very long and he was always seeming to jump from one thing to the next, but he was able to live well by having people in his life who spurred him into truth and what was right. His wife Chelsea was one of those people who really seemed to help him stay stable enough that even in his spurts on organic coffee or special diet or maybe the Denver airport conspiracy theory, etc., she held him on a steady path. It was the pregnancy of his first daughter that us families saw him begin to greatly derail emotionally and mentally and show big signs of mania again. Chelsea and Nate went to a Christian conference in January of 2016. We can't remember the exact conference, but my husband remembers him coming home enamored with the book, Blood on the Altar, but he started hearing/believing some very troubling doctrines. We had quite a lot of conversations about how those doctrines weren't true or in line with the Bible, and he started slowly pulling away from me. It was a few months after that I remember calling my dad after I had a conversation with Nate. I told my dad, "Something's going on with Nate and I'm really concerned." I didn't know that he was already beginning to accuse my dad of abuse from my maternal grandparents, and he eventually started coming out with very small little things about this abuse to me. He said he was prayed over at that conference and had a revealing of all the abuse he had repressed. When we confronted him on it, and when we tried to talk to Chelsea about it, that was when he quickly cut us all off. We tried to connect with Chelsea's family as well, but they knew if they confronted Nate, they too would be cut off from their grandchild as we had been.
As we wrap this up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
You too have seen how charismatic and exuberant he is. After his shooting and stabbing incident, he ended up committing his life to Christ the following year. When he got baptized at Flatirons Church, he was able to share his testimony, and we all just cried tears of joy for the saving work of God. We know that God can do great and miraculous things again. We look at Nate's life right now and we grieve. But we do not grieve as those who have no hope. While he has breath in his lungs, God is working to draw him back into the truth. We do shudder at how many he is leading astray, and I pray that true repentance comes into his heart again before he stands in judgment before God. We would rather be slandered 1,000,000 times over than have him lead thousands away from the truth of God. That is our greatest fear for Nathan at this time. We pray that you having this enlightening is one step in helping Nate and his family enter back into truth and lead many sons to glory.
Thank you for your time. Your love and compassion for your brother is overwhelming, and I pray that one day your family will be reconciled.
Until the Son of God appear.
Nathan, there's something I have to ask.
Do you like my sunglasses?
Frank Hammer.
Don't
Shit, Snake! It's all over again!
It's over, Nathan.
Nobody will believe you. They'll think you're crazy. They'll leave you. And believe me,
I don't care about them. I've come for you.
my family just wants to control me.
They're scared for you.
Don't be ridiculous. Why would they be scared of me?
Not what you can do to them, but how you'll react.
I'm fine.
You ever think about your dad? He lost his father prematurely. You ever stop to think maybe he's terrified the same could happen to you?
You have no idea about my family.
That cold Thanksgiving morning?
None of your business. I lost everything that day. I was mocked and ridiculed and called crazy, and all my friends abandoned me.
But your family didn't, especially your old man.
I'm free from all that now, free from them, delivered in Dallas when I got prayed over at that conference, and I...
Abandoned your family? And for what? So you can run with the conspiracy crowd? Get on stage and bask in the affections of an audience?
My memory was restored, and I was able to speak the truth.
What truth is that? That mermaids can bring you magical swords?
Well...
Or how about we go to the woods and you can summon a dog man?
It doesn't work like that.
It never works like that.
You think you're so smart. I'm going to fight to the bitter end.
Do me a favor. Go tell your audience that you're never going to see your family again. But in private, go reconcile. Because that would be better than what you have going on now.
Why does it matter to you?
I care about your soul, your salvation.
Who are you to pass judgment? You don't know what it's like.
Around that time, that Dallas conference, you were an expecting father of your first child.
So what of it?
An expecting father can face an existential crisis confronted with sacrifice of self, their life no longer being their own. Tethered to a family, their dreams become secondary.
My wife and children come first.
And with the world closing in on you, you decided to sacrifice the reputations of those closest to you so you could gain an audience.
Brainwashed sleepers, Luciferians, every last one of them.
Not true. And you know that.
You calling me a liar?
You know, one day, someday, your kids are going to have questions. They're going to ask, who are my grandparents? Who are my aunts? Where are my cousins? And what are you going to tell them, Nathan?
And I'll tell them the real truth.
That they're decent people?
Go away. You've said enough.
You're a good man, Nate. I believe it. You're charismatic and passionate for the Lord. You're magnetic, and you could be so much more than this. Go back to your family and have reconciliation.
I can't.
You won't. Go embrace your earthly father, and he'll embrace you. And he'll put a ring on your finger, not an Illuminati ring, but a ring of authority and identity. And I'm sure he'll slay the fatted calf. Heck, you can butcher it for him.
Well, this has been a nice little scripted dialogue, but you know I'll never do this.
No. There's hope.
Leave me. Go on now.
Nathan, you were made to do great things.
My brother and I are only 12 months apart in age. He and I were best friends our entire upbringing and very close. We had a relationship that we didn't even need to finish our sentences.
I love you, Dad.
Nathan's got a secret friend, a cryptid on a board no end. Nessie loves her skate and glide, with Nathan always by her side. When danger calls, they're ready now. No time for fear, they take a bow. Go, Nessie, go, with Nathan by your side, you know. Go, Nessie, go. They make a stand, they truly glow. Go, Nessie, go. Professor P puts hands, no chance. Go, Nessie, go. It's time for their heroic dance. Dad and Mom, the ninja crew. Sister strong and fighting true. They guard Nessie from all harm, breaking every evil charm. From late street mystery to street, they cannot be truly beat. Laughing loud and wild and free, the coolest heroes you will see. Go, Nessie, go, with Nathan by your side, you know.
Yes, sir. The entire unit was wiped out. Those two are still alive. No, sir. My cover is intact. Nobody knows who I really am. General McChrystal's pizza order was intercepted. We blew that alien spacecraft out of the sky and made sure the delivery driver was denied workers' compensation. That Reynolds guy, I can't tell what he's going to do next. That's all on him. I agree, sir. It takes a beautiful man such as yourself to rule the world. Actually, can you repeat that, sir? You came in all muffled. Oh, that's much better now. I'll start preparations right away. Thank you, and goodbye, Mr. President.